Hi, welcome to the DRH show, where I have wide-ranging conversations with fascinating people. We talk about all things psychology, mental health, and wellness. Today, I'm joined by a lawyer and human rights campaigner from Brazil, Professor Dr. Marcelo Henrique. And I'm also joined by Ana Madeiros, who's actually a mental health advocate from New York and who would be acting as a sort of a translator when needed. But let's first talk with Dr. Marcelo Henrique. Dr. Marcelo Henrique, it's lovely to have you here. I've never had the opportunity to talk to someone who's doing important works, especially in Brazil. So if you could just sort of share to us your background, your trajectory in life, and exactly what you are doing right now.
Hello, our greetings for the British people, and for you too. Thank you very much for inviting. Mrs. Anna, it's a normal pleasure talking about you again, and we are really fighters in human rights. Brazil, unfortunately, is a great country, has a good people, but our authorities insist in violate human rights, especially at the ultimate years, especially the 3 or 4 last years. We have a declining in, in an increase of the destroyers of the states against the population. And all of them, we have to a hunting for the human rights activists. The authorities are inputting fake news and other ways to be against the human rights activists, and it's not a kind thing because we are fighting to the people. We are fighting to a Brazil better and grows like a human nation, not only in economics. And attitudes, something like that, are disgusting our population. About my history, my biography, I can say that since 20 years I work with human rights. I started before English in college and high school. I still worked with benefits and human rights institutions. After concluding the graduate in law, I become a lawyer that fights every day by human rights protocols in Brazil. The first work I was involved in this area was with health, the access of the people to public health. This is a very different reality that we have in United States or in UK. That we have the system in the United Kingdom, for example, open for the poor people and all of them. Here in Brazil, it's not worked like this. In Brazil, if you don't have a good plan, a good enterprise that you pay monthly for your health, or you do particular, it's not possible to have a good improvement by the state. And it's a very sad situation. And so my first work at the human rights was in this way of health. And I worked with diabetes. I work with cancer people and schizophrenia ones. And because this work, I wrote a book called Access, Human Rights and the Access of Health in Brazil. And it's something like a manual for lawyers and a guideline for people in general, in order to access the public health using the justice, because by the simple executive is not good. And so, in parallel of this, I'm a professor. I give classes of human rights and also criminal and criminology, criminal law, criminology, and the Constitution study. So it's a quickly brief of my life. And today I'm the president of the Brazilian Observatorio of Human Rights. That is an NGO that fights and claims population in order to be improved, in order to be accesses human rights and fight to human rights violations.
Okay. Well, thank you for that introduction, Dr. Enrique, and thank you for sharing to us a sort of a snapshot of what the human rights scenario that's happening in Brazil. I know that the center of this interview really lies within you, Dr. Enrique, but I just want to give Ana Medeiros a chance to sort of share to us her background and also her trajectory in life. So, Ana, because you're also involved in this conversation, so just give us a bit of background about yourself, and then we'll go back to talking to Dr. Enrique again.
Yeah, thank you for this. Thank you for that. Actually, I got to know Dr. Enrique because my nephew, 17 years old young man, he has dual diagnosis. He suffered from schizophrenia and intellectual disability, and he went missing for 10 months. He's still missing, and I got a friend of mine, Cidinha Diaz. She put me in contact with Dr. Marcelo's foundation, the OBDH. And since then, it's been about 6 months. I have been involved with Dr. Marcelo's foundation, and I have been a strong voice advocate and try to, to support his organization because of the wonderful work that they doing down there. You know, I also work in the behavioral mental health here in New York, but here in New York is different. People are treated humanely. People their dignity is respected. It's something that in Brazil it does not exist. So I have been like a strong voice, and I really want that Dr. Marcelo himself can get the support from UK, can get the support from USA, for institution. It can be university, it can be any organization that wants to help us in Brazil. Dr. Marcelo is here. He's a human rights activist. He's a professor. He has a human rights school in Brazil. He teaches people. So my main focus is I am kind of the liaison for the OBGH, and I'm advocating. I'm asking for help. Anyone who wants to help the organization of Dr. Marcelo, the OBGH, they can contact him or can contact me because we do need help down there. He's fighting, like he has friends, he has colleagues who is helping him, but it's not enough. The thing down there is really ugly, and we need all help we can get.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing to us how you're actually involved with the initiative being set up by Dr. Marcelo. Now, let's go back to Dr. Marcelo. There's something interesting that you mentioned earlier. You mentioned that you're actually involved with OBDH, which is the Brazilian Observatory of Human Rights. Yeah. So, Dr. Marcelo, tell us more about this initiative, and when did they start, and what actually are they doing right now, and tell us about some of the programs that this organization is doing at the moment for people in Brazil.
Okay, then. The human rights activists needs go together. It's not possible to do great progress alone. And the mean of the OBDH was agglutinating We are meeting all people, lawyers especially, that was engaged in human rights and get around our organization in order to do actions directionally in three different ways of filtration. The first, the education, the human rights education. And in this line, we grew up at the Brazilian School of Human Rights. And then we gave a lot of courses, free courses, extension courses, and post-graduation courses in human rights to give tools to ability and to teach other lawyers and other professionals in order to improve the human rights ways, processual and not processual, judicial and not judicial. The second way is the attempt to the right now violations. And so the case of the Anna's nephew, this is an actual and very, very serious humanitarian violation. How have she told us the boy just is missing by the state who have the obligation to protect. The authority that have to protect made him missing until today. And so this friend, this part of the OBDH fights directly on the point the violation occurred. And the third point is doing right documents in order to study concrete case, like persers, like redation and dissertations, something like this, that you have to write and discuss at the theory cases are in the judiciary. And so it's in quick briefing, in abstract, we are a group of lawyers and one of other no lawyer that improves the human rights discourse by education and by acting directly at the human rights violations.
Thank you for giving us a snapshot of how actually the OBDH is actively involved in campaigning for the human rights of people in Brazil. Now, we'll talk more about that in detail, but there's something that you mentioned earlier. You mentioned that you wrote a book about public health and human right access in Brazil. And I suppose this is really a good initiative alongside with OBDH. But just give us more information about your book. Is it just for the Brazilian people, or is it more of you want to kind of educate people outside of Brazil of the kind of human rights scenarios within Brazil? Who is the book aimed for, Dr. Marcelo?
Yeah, my book was wrote specifically for Brazilian people because it's all the details of Brazilian legislation in order to assess the health. It's so different from you that USA or London hear something like this, but in Brazil, some medical procedures or medicines that are more expensive, it's only reached by the justice. You can't have the medicine, for example, for schizophrenia. We have a medicine for schizophrenia that's called quetiapina in Brazil. And the commercial name is Seroquel. This medicine is so expensive for the Brazilian people. It costs something like 50 pounds. And for us, is a lot of money. Right? And so we have to, the patient have to constitute, to contract a lawyer and to move a judicial process against the states in order to state pay this medicine. And I have seen that we have a poor study of this process of beating the state in order to pay the medicines or procedures, surgeries, etc. And so my book is a way to teach lawyers and Brazilian people in general in order how to access this the public health, and so it's a detailed manual explain all parts of the Brazilian legislation of the SUS, our called in Portuguese Sistema Único de Saúde. It's our public health system, and so my book is designated for this public, the Brazilian people and Brazilian lawyers that want to reach this medical treatments or medicines and can't and don't have the knowledge to do this.
Well, thank you. It sounds really like a good initiative together with OBDH. But aside from OBDH and aside from your book, Dr. Marcelo, I understand that you're also involved with the Institute of the Right of Defense, or IDDD. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The IDDD, it's an institute founded by Márcio Tomás Bastos. It was a Minister of Justice a few years ago. And this institution is claims for the right of defense. Because in Brazil, and this way we have in a lot of other countries of the world. But in Brazil, there are some cases that bring the attention of the media, and the media condemns the persecuted before the judge. And so this institute that I am involved, it's something that claims to the rights of the due process of law and the right process. That are rights consacrated at 1948 Declaration of Human Being from the United Nations. But some countries, and this Brazil, and then do not respect. And so we advocate in the sense of the crime could be a better one, could be a grave crime, but the delinquent, the thief, or if other one, have the right of being defended, and he has this right. Is the Constitution and in the Declaration of Human Being of the United States.
Thank you, Dr. Marcelo. Now, earlier, Anna, during the introduction, she mentioned that she came to meet you because because there's a 17-year-old boy that was missing, and you managed to get involved with that. If you could just give us more information about what exactly happened, if it's possible, and also is that just one of the ways that you're actually helping people in terms of human rights? And perhaps Anna could also shed some more information about this. Dr. Marcelo first, and then Anna, if you want to add some information, feel free.
Yeah. Okay. He's 17 years old, and he has schizophrenia. Just a boy that was trying to alive in safe, was trying to grow up, was trying to be a normal man, but unfortunately he is in Brazil. Unfortunately, he is in the country of Maranhão. And then, because this mental disease, this schizophrenia, he was looked firstly like a bad person. He was looked like a drug user, and it's a lie. And the state don't furnish it the medicines he needed to the treatment. And so, seeing this panorama, you have a boy in a non-accessible region. The closer city is very, very far, something like 20 kilometers. And this city is very, very small. He don't receive the medicines necessary for the treatment. And of course, he entered in a crisis. And this crisis, when the family needs support, when the family needs the help from the state, absolutely the opposite of occurred. The state, who have the obligation of take care, have literally kept him, and we don't know where he is until today. And it's, if not the worst, one of the most dangerous and grave violations of human rights I have seen in my life. Because it's on a boy that was with your arms open to have love, to have a treatment, to have dignity. And unfortunately, the state doing like this. But I can say, obviously and certainly, justice will be made. Because our justice is very slow, unfortunately, too. Our justice is very bureaucratical. Of course, in order to privilege the same state that violates the human rights. But the justice comes. If not in Maranhão, in Brasilia comes. And we are dedicated closely to reach this boy and to give the correct and the just punishment to the authors of this crime, because it's a crime, not think different of this. They have committed a crime with this boy.
It is really an unfortunate story to hear that someone who's suffering with mental health issues has been accused of something else. Now, Anna, would you like to add more information on that?
Yeah, what Dr. Marcelo is right. Actually, the OBGA, they do a wonderful work. They have different programs, projects, and one of the work that OBGH is doing is helping people with behavioral mental health do diagnosis to help him, because as you know, and in my writing, right now they are killing, they're torturing and people with behavioral mental health inside institutions. So Dr. Marcelo has two or three other cases that he's helping people who actually die as a result of torture inside of this institution. And it is, and he faced a lot of challenge, and he says he faces a lot of persecution, because when you write the right, when you defend human rights and human dignity in Brazil, you are persecuted. There's a lot of fake news. He himself has been victimized of fake news, and that's why this interview is so important, that we get the help that we need outside of Brazil. It is true. It is my nephew. He was 17 years old when he had the second crisis. He has schizophrenia, and he has intellectual disability, and he was without medication. When he needed help, the help was denied, and they said that he was not a person with behavioral mental health history, that he was a drug user, that he was a person who was under illegal effect of substance. So they didn't help him, but later on they disappeared him. So he has suffered a lot of discrimination for being black, for being poor, and for being a person with behavioral mental health. Like I explained before, people with behavioral mental health in Brazil, they have been marginalized, they have been uh, discriminated, and they are considered dangerous people who should be locked up. That's what people who are in the power, they believe. And that is happening in all states. In Ceará last week, they killed another person who was inside of a rehabilitation institution. These people with behavioral mental health, I'm not only talk about Vavá, but I'm talking about other case. Francisco Osvaldo is the one case that Dr. Marcelo is working. Vitor Salles is one other case that Dr. Marcelo is working. But because he's doing his right, he's using the justice system, that he wants justice for everyone, he also suffered persecution. He's being attacked. There's a lot of fake news that people are trying to destroy him. People are trying to use the fake news to destroy his name. And that is not right. That is not right. A justice person who is doing right, that's not right. That's why we need all the support.
Mhm.
And
And
I'm asking for help for the European community. I'm asking for help for the UK. I'm asking for help for the US, because the work that Dr. Marcelo is doing, as far as I know, no one is doing. He's helped the incarcerated population. He's helped the population of behavioral mental health. And let me tell, the population of behavioral mental health they have been killing. They kill a young man. There's several people who died inside of institution in the state of Maranhão, Brazil. There's three or four people who were killed inside of institution in the state of Ceará. That is happened all over Brazil. The behavioral mental health community have been marginalized. Behavioral mental health in Brazil has been criminalized, and we need to decriminalize, because these are human beings. And that's what happened to Vavá. That's what happened to other individuals who have the same thing. Like Vavá, all he needs were medication. The state fell to him. The state did not help him. Instead of, they disappear him for 10 months, and we don't know where he is. And inside this institution, they treat people like animals, and they end up dead.
It's really unfortunate to hear these circumstances. But thank you, Dr. Marcelo and Anna, for sort of enlightening us what's really happening with in Brazil. Now, you mentioned, Dr. Marcelo and Anna, earlier that you actually need a lot of support when it comes to sustaining what you're doing in Brazil in relation to helping people in terms of human rights abuses, and also people who are suffering with mental health issues. issues. So if people or organizations want to help you work in Brazil, how could they get in touch with you? How could they help? Dr. Marcelo.
Okay, in order to get in touch with us, it's only www.obdh.org, and it's our website, and we have formulary in order to get in touch, and all other social medias that we have, Instagram and Facebook. But our site is www.obdh.org. Yeah? In about, I was talking, I need to say that the fake news and the internet tools of the actually are being used to denigrate the honor and the image of human rights activists. And it's a very grave situation. It's a very deep problem. All of you listening about Marielle Franco. Marielle Franco was a politician and a human rights activist from Rio de Janeiro. The first stage they tried to disqualify her was by fake news in the internet. It was not enough, and they grew up on the second step, and they killed. She was executed in the street, the Pupo street. And so we are in the 21st century, but in Brazil, human rights activists are in risk. We are fighting by the rights of the other, but we that claims to the human rights are in risk. Because of this, we are asking for help from the UK, from the United States, from all the Europe, the countries involved that look for us, that reverberate our politicals, reverberate our actions. It's not, we are not here asking for money. It's not the point. Of course, we need research, but we are not asking for money. We are asking for reverberation, divulgation. We are asking for space, something like this, yours, that open your show in order to listen our words. Because these don't appear from the great media. Our president, for example, are in New York today from the open of the United Nations General Assembly. But it's so crazy, the situation, that he is not vaccinated and is walking and entering by the lateral entrances in order to get distance of the press, the media, the press, and the Brazilians. He entered in the lateral entrance from the hotel in New York.
The backyard, the back door.
Back door, in order to get distance from the Brazilians. Why? Because the Brazilians that are outside Brazil can see the situation better and can say the things. Never in my life, that I'm not too old, but never mind, I have seen a persecution, and this form so hunted with human rights activists. something like this only the times of the military government. And so we need, and I use this moment in order to say thank you very much to you, Dennis, that is open this space for us.
You're welcome, Dr. Marcelo, and I'm glad that my small platform could somehow help you with your initiative. And just like what you've said, it's not really about just financial support, but it's just giving you an opportunity to kind of air your side of the story of what's really happening with Brazil. And thank you for taking part, and thank you for getting in touch with me on my about my YouTube channel. I'm happy to give you a space, but I'll just like to go back again to the initiatives that you were involved, because earlier on the discussion you mentioned that you were involved in setting up this School of Human Rights. So please tell us more about this School of Human Rights, and who are actually your students? Are they just aspiring lawyers in Brazil, or are they sort of like animators who are passionate about campaigning about human rights?
Yeah, the idea of the School of Human Rights was samely from the idea of my book. When I wrote my book, it was destined to teach young lawyers and the population in general to assess the health, the public health in Brazil. And the school, I brought specialists in human rights from several parts of Brazil in order to give classes in our school. And this school gives free courses and post-graduation courses in pursuit of universities of Brazil. The central idea is to defend and to approximate human rights from the lawyers and the human studies, because in Brazil, this chair, human rights, it's not a university obligatory chair, and so the Brazilian lawyer concludes the graduation and don't have a special discipline of human rights. They study criminal law, civil law, constitutional law, but human rights, no. And so the idea of the school is to, how do I say? It's to improve this lacune. It's to filling this space. It's negliged by the Brazilian Ministry of Education and the university that teaches law and the juridical sciences. And so we have teachers are in Rome. We have a Brazilian woman and member of our observatory that lives in Rome. She's a profound specialist in history of human rights, and she gives classes to us. We have other professors of human rights, of criminal law. And so these classes, I, with the manager, mount courses and destinate to different types of public. This is the proposal of our school.
Yeah. And like what you've said, this is essentially you're trying to bridge the gap. Obviously, the best way to do this is to sort of like educate not just people in Brazil, but anyone who's interested with the geopolitical systems happening in Brazil can understand is through education. I've just got a more general question. I understand this is really quite intense discussion, but just on a more generic standpoint, how do you envision your work 5 years from now, Dr. Marcelo? What's your goal within 5 years?
Yeah, it's complicated to thinking about goals,
Right
but
now. Yeah.
I, if I can to vislumber a scenery, I said that I want to work for the poor people, work to people that needs the state in peace, because we don't have peace today in Brazil. I wanna argue, I wanna discuss politely how I ever do, but based in respect. And so, if you said me in order to choose one word to be like a goal for me and for us, I choose respect. If we can, we and the state and all the people can respect ourselves, not yet the Brazil, but all the world will become a place very, very better than are today.
Absolutely, and that is really an important message, Dr. Marcelo. You know, when we talk about respect, it sort of somehow addresses many problems, be it mental health, be it human rights abuses. It all boils down to, you know, like, just show a bit of respect to other people. Now, let's talk again about OBDH. So you talk about earlier the human rights abuses, but can you tell us in particular what are the major challenges that you and OBDH are facing at the present time?
Our great challenge is in the line of the respect, okay, but our great challenge today is can help people without injustice persecution, because we help people and the whole state, the involved, the people that we fight to don't use the justice in order to answer us, because we are ready to respond judicial process and our other ones, because we only act to by the law. The problem is they use violence, they intimidate our families, they use dirt fake news in order to try to dirt our honor, our images. And so the challenge of the OBDH is be possible discuss human rights without the out of respect from these people that are against human rights activists. The challenges is this.
Absolutely. And Dr. Marcelo, do you believe there is a way or a strategy to resolve the crisis that is happening now in Brazil? And could you give us some ideas, approaches on how we can address these issues?
Yeah, uh, I think this it was a world phenomenon, because the right, uh, the politician right, has been like a cloud by all the world. They assumed in Europe, neo-Nazis. He appeared in Germany, right ones. He appeared in France. We have the Donald Trump in US, and Brazil assigns to the right, this totally right, this extreme right. And we are in a situation that the Brazilian people couldn't understand correctly the situation. Yeah, couldn't understand the raises, couldn't understand the more profound points that we have, the polarization, and put on the right side this violators of human rights, these people that uh, don't respect uh, people with mental disease, don't respect the homosexuals, gays, and other ones, don't respect the black people, don't respect these minorities, okay, in Brazil. In the left side, the ones who respect all this. And this polarization, it's not okay because we have to find the equal. We have to find the central way. All of us needs and are dignities of respect. All of us. And so
Absolutely.
it's not occurring. And so this movement, international movement that puts the right politicals on the power in Brazil, it's not finished, and we expect that finish the next year. But until today, it's not finished. Like USA have finished with the election of Joe Biden. That's other way of think about the people, no? And we haven't this in Brazil today. And today, the general mind is if you is a if you are a human rights activist, you are a bad people like the other you defend, and it's a very important mistake.
Absolutely. So, but basically, what you're saying, Dr. Marcel, is that there needs to be a sort of like organization that should happen within politics in order to address these mental health issues and human rights abuses. Now, Dr. Marcelo, again, on a lighter note, I know this is an intense topic, but I just want to end it up with something lighter. What do you think you would be doing if you didn't work as a lawyer or a human rights campaigner? What do you think you would be doing?
If I don't was a lawyer, at the start of the show, you have said that a psychologist. I say I see with good eyes the psychologist profession.
Mhm.
I think that you have looked for my soul. I actually could be a psychologist because I think it's very interesting to help people to look for the eyes and try to see a smile in opposite of tears. And so I think I would be a psychologist.
Absolutely. Well, I could see you as a psychologist. I already saw you as a psychologist. In fact, during my introduction. Yeah, but thank you for thank you for correcting me on that note. Now, I just want to hear from Anna before I get back to Dr. Marcelo. Is there anything else that you want to add? Because you've also been like what you've said, you've been liaising with Dr. Marcelo and helping his initiative. Can we hear some final words from you before we go back to Dr.
This,
Marcelo?
I fell in love with the OBGH because they're very honest. They're pretty much straightforward. I do understand that sometimes I tell Dr. Marcel that his organization does need donation because the more the donation he gets, he can do more. And he always said, no, I don't want the money because if I'm already, under attack, because he suffers attacks. Human rights in Brazil are being under attack. It's either the fake news or either way, they are under attack. And when I say we need help in Brazil, It's not only, I don't say, like he said, it's not about money. It's about have support, have other organizations that can support his work down there, and his life will not be in danger, because the work that he's doing, helping the vulnerable population, the poor community, is not seen with good eyes down there. And he suffers attack. He suffers attack in his name, his dignity. Some people try to draw mud in his own name and have internet fake news. I myself, I had someone who tried to contact me to just to draw mud in his name, but I know his work, you know. And that is I think that educating people about what the work that OBGA Dr. Marcelo is doing and his colleagues down there, it's very, very important, because the more support he has for us, no, I'm just one voice here. I'm well educated. I'm pursuing masters in human rights law, international human rights law. But we need more people, academic people. We need more people who can help him, who can help his work, who can say we are with you. And this way will guarantee that he's not gonna suffer any more attacks, because human rights defenders in Brazil are under attack. They are, one way or the other, they are under attack. Of is either you can suffer physical attack, you can suffer the fake news, which he has been victimized, the fake news, trying to get his name. But the work that he does, it's amazing. He helps in education, he helps in the judicial system, and most of the people that he helps are the people that needs help. The minority, the LGBTQ, the Black community, the women's. He's a strong voice for women's rights. We even now we were trying to work in a project together, but I haven't got the time to do that yet. But he is a strong voice for women's rights. He's a strong voice for the minority in Brazil. And it's not seen with good eyes by the elite, by the politician.
Absolutely. And thank you for those final words, Anna. Now let's go back to Dr. Marcelo. It's been a pleasure talking to you, but I'll give the floor back to you. Is there anything else that you want to say? Final message for anyone watching this interview. Yeah, you can. The floor is all yours. Just tell us your final message.
Okay. Firstly, my thank you to you, Dennis, to open your space to our client, Dona Ana Medeiros. It's an honor, a great honor every time I talk with you, because you are a human rights activist and a human rights student. You study human rights, you know our difficulties in Brazil. And you are family. You have in your family a case that it's one of our emblems. The very, very sad violation of Vava case. And to the public, your public days, I can say that look for Brazil. Brazil, I think, is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I stayed in New York, I stayed in London. Our city is incredible, fantastic, including I'm missing come back to London or New York. But Brazil have a natural wellness. The people, the Brazilian people are good people, are worker, hard worker. But we need to be looked for you that are in a different situation. You need to look for our children. You need to look for our families, because we aren't just carnival and football. Brazil is not only carnival and soccer, football. No, no. Brazil is a country. Is a country for good people, for worker people. And we are being satiated, we are being destroyed in our human rights. We are being disrated, and our more important characters, our happiness. The Brazilian people is a happy people. We are people with a smile every time open. And this smile is being satiated, is being eliminated by the authorities, by the people who we put on the power. And our constitution said all the power came to the people. So thank you very much. And if you have a message today, the message is world, UK, look for Brazil.
Thank you for that beautiful message, Dr. Marcelo. And what I'll do is I'll put in the link to OBDH on the description notes. So for anyone who wants to get in touch with you,
Thank
they
you,
can
Dennis.
visit your website. And thank you also, Anna, for sort of helping us today and giving us further context on the work that Dr. Marcelo is doing. It's really an important work. And like what you've said, it all comes down to respect. And I could sense that you really love your country, that you're really passionate about Brazil. It's not just like what you said, it's not just a place for playing football or for the carnival, but it's, there's a sense of community, there's a sense of love within Brazil. But like what you've outlined today, it's also a country that is beset with problem. And it's good to hear that there are people like you and Anna who are actually doing their part to address those issues within Brazil. Well, it's been lovely talking to you, Dr. Marcelo and Anna. Thank you for your help. But unfortunately, time is against us. It's a pleasure having you here on the VRH.
Thank you, Dennis. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, we will be in touch. I look forward to hearing more about your work.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Bye, Dr. Marcelo.
Bye.